Hi, I'm Ed Brylczyk, corporate chef at Dole & Bailey in Woburn, Mass. And today I've been inspired to do a dish that is actually a dinner for two. It came about a couple weeks ago when a young friend of mine, 20-year-old, wanted to cook his first dinner for his girlfriend and wanted some help because he's just never cooked before. So we thought of an elegant dish that we could prepare in a very easy way with very little training that he could execute. So to start the dish, we are going to start the couscous. And what you do here, if you're not familiar with Israeli couscous, there are several different sizes. This is the Israeli. It's a toasted pasta, and it's a real big pearl and very, very simple to cook. And the reason we're doing this risotto style is risotto is a great dish to serve with filet, but it's really complicated for somebody with a lot of cooking experience. They can execute it, but somebody who's doing it for the first time, it's going to be a real struggle. This can replicate the same texture and flavor of that dish in a very simple way. So all we do is we take 2 cups of couscous, about 2.5 cups of simple water, which we're going to season first with salt. You want to get the salt in there. That's the only way to get it to penetrate into the couscous, is by having the water salted well. A little bit of pepper, and then we're going to simply add the couscous. Now, if this was a traditional risotto, you'd have to sit here and stir this for 30 to 40 minutes. With couscous, you simply dump that in, give it a quick stir so it doesn't stick to the bottom, let that come back up to a boil, which it does very, very quickly. And then we're just going to cover it. And I've actually prepped this back burner because I'm using electric here. We got a real high heat in the front, but I've already prepped a back burner that's on setting for simmer. And we're going to move that to the back and let that simmer for 5 minutes. At that point, it's done and ready to serve. But that's only the first step to making it risotto style. If you were making this for a regular preparation, you'd probably have a little bit more water in there. But we're going to add spinach, which releases a lot of water, and we're also going to add some cream cheese, which is going to add another layer of moisture to that. So we've reduced the water a little bit so we get the right consistency. But in 5 minutes, that's going to be ready to go. We're going to finish our risotto. And as we talked about earlier, this is a couscous risotto. So what we're going to do now is, first of all, the couscous has finished absorbing all the liquid. As you can see, you've got individual grains of couscous right now. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take that and we're going to add our flavoring elements to it. First, we're going to start with a cup of chopped spinach, which was blanched, just a simple sauté, and then chopped. And we're going to add that in. And then to work it in and add a little bit of moisture to get that creaminess that you look for in a risotto, we're going to start adding cream until we get the exact right texture. So that's about 1/4 cup. The recipe, you're just going to kind of go with what feels right when you're looking at this. You'll see it absorb. It might get a little thick and you want to thin it out. You can always add a little bit more cream. But remember, you don't want to add too much early because we're still going to put our cream cheese in, which is going to give us that flavor that's very reminiscent of a good steakhouse creamed spinach. So you got the best of both worlds in this dish. A beautiful risotto texture with the cheesy spinach flavor of a steakhouse creamed spinach. You just continue to work and fold that in. You can see it's getting that creamy texture that you get with risotto. You know, a really good arborio rice risotto takes anywhere from 30 minutes to a half hour, and it can go south on you pretty quick if you're not right on top of it. For somebody who's just starting out and learning how to cook, and wants to replicate a dinner that they might have in a very elegant restaurant, this is a great way to pull that off. So you can see we got that cream cheese worked in, we've got the cream worked in, and at this point I still think we need to use the remaining amount of cream that we have. And that's perfect. That's the texture right there that you're looking for. We're going to crust and sear the filet. Now, the tenderloin muscle is about a 5.5 to 6.5 pound whole muscle, and it can be fabricated by your butcher in many, many different ways. An individual steak is often referred to as a filet mignon. You can cut portions of the whole tenderloin and tie it off and call it a tenderloin roast. What we have here is a traditional, elegant presentation known as a Chateaubriand. It's usually no less than 16 ounces, which is what we have here, a 16-ounce filet, and it is traditionally seared, plated, or plattered for two, and then brought to the table in the restaurant and served as a dinner for two table side. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this and we're going to crust it. And you can see this tenderloin, which came from Northeast Family Farms, has a lot of marbling. This is a very rich tenderloin. And when we talk about time and temperature in the oven, temperature, I like mine at a low temperature, about 300 degrees. But when we talk about time, a lot of that is going to be based on the tenderloin you purchase. A real rich tenderloin, which has a lot of fat in it, is going to take longer time. Fat's an insulation, so it prevents the heat from penetrating through in a fast fashion. So in giving you an idea of the time, we can give you a general idea. It's going to take 8 to 12 minutes in the 300-degree oven after we're done searing. But you really need a thermometer to check the temperature for the doneness that you prefer to serve to you and your guests. So first of all, we're going to take this and we're going to hit it first with salt. And we're going to be very generous and liberal with it. You want a lot of salt on it, and you also want to make sure that your tenderloin is very dry. Pat it down with a couple of paper towels. If there's any surface moisture on that, when it hits the pan, it's going to steam, and that steam is going to prevent you from getting a good caramelization on the meat. So we're going to do salt and pepper, and the tenderloin, by and large, is the leanest muscle that is featured in restaurants. It's got a very small fat content compared to a strip or a ribeye. So we want to add flavor because it's a very tender muscle, and a lot of people say, that tenderness is a quality that they're looking for, but unfortunately it doesn't provide a lot of flavor. So we're going to add to this crust one of my favorite crusts for meat, which is a toasted minced fennel seed. Gives a little bit of an anise flavor. A lot of times people eat that on a nice steak and go, geez, I'm not sure what that is, and it really adds a nice element of flavor. And then some beautiful fresh minced rosemary. When you're searing something with high heat like this, you want to use an herb and a spice that's going to stand up to that heat. You don't want to use a soft green leaf herb, but because the rosemary is a real woody type herb, it can handle that heat and add a real nice flavor without burning. So now that that's nice and flavorful, we're going to add to a hot pan a little bit of olive oil. You can see that smoking. It's tough with electric, but if you're talented, you can work with it. So now that we got that oil nice and hot, the pan's coated, we're going to start the searing process. And you're looking for a nice golden brown. You don't want to go dark brown, but a real nice golden brown. At this point, we're seared on all of the sides, including the two ends. And we're going to dot this with a little bit of nice butter, which is going to add a little bit of richness to the dish. And because it's a filet, we don't have a lot of fat in there, so we're going to add a little of that. And we're going to pop this right into the oven and let it finish. Okay, we have just pulled the Chateaubriand out of the oven. It is right at about a rare to a medium rare, and we're going to let that rest for about 8 minutes. And we're going to, in that resting process, the carryover cooking, it's still real hot. It's still going to cook a little further. We're going to take that to a nice, perfect medium rare. A lot of people who are first getting into cooking at home by themselves, they probably like it a little bit more on the medium side anyway. But if you're looking for a nice medium rare, you're going to pull that right at about 125 and let that carry over. If you want it to be a little bit more on the medium side, probably pull that with a nice internal temperature of 135 and then let that rest. So while that rests, our couscous is coming together. We've put all the final finishing ingredients into that. We're going to saute our asparagus. We got a real nice hot pan, and we're going to add a little bit of olive oil from California in there. And we're just going to do a real simple saute. You could add, if you wanted to add a little bit more flavor to this, you could add some herb de Provence. You could add any, just even some chopped garlic if you want. I happen to really like my asparagus. Very simple. I think it's one of the most beautiful tasting vegetables out there. A very unique flavor to it. And I think just simple olive oil, really good olive oil, and salt and pepper. And what you're looking for here is you still want to serve this with a little bit of bite, a little bit of crunch to it. So we're going to saute this on real high heat. We're going to add a little bit of salt to it. And we're just going to let that sit. Once we get the oil distributed on the asparagus, we're going to let that sit and get a nice caramelization, a golden brown on one side. And make sure you toss it around. Just sometimes moving it around, you don't get all the sides moved over. But already there, just with the tongs, you can already start to feel that asparagus softening up and getting to that texture you want. You see the beautiful golden brown on the on that one side there, and that'll be ready in just about another minute. At this point, our Chateaubriand has rested for about 8 minutes. All of our sides are ready to go with it, and we've selected a nice medium-sized platter that you can take this and put together and then bring out to your loved one out in the dining room and share a nice romantic evening together. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to slice the Chateau. And what you can do to make this a real nice presentation is you're going to, I like on this, I don't like thin cuts. I like to go a good 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch slice. And you got to be very careful with filet because it is a very soft and delicate muscle, so you don't want to push down too hard. You want to let the knife do the work. And we've got 6 really nice slices here. And we'll just put that back together, and we're going to take that outside piece and turn it around so you show off the beautiful pink. Okay, now that we got that, we can plate. What I like to do is I like to put the asparagus down first in a real nice pile here. And the couscous is just at that point where it's come together, but it's still nice and soft, full of flavor with the spinach and the cream cheese. And we're going to mound that up in this corner here. And it's okay to mix these together. What you're going to do is by mounting it together and keeping everything piled up, it's going to help that keep that heat in. And now you've got your filet, and we're just going to work a beautiful shingle on this. Make sure everything looks pretty, and then we're going to come in with a nice couple of rosemary skewers, add a little elegant touch to it. And at this point we've taken and we've put a cruet together of a beautiful demi-glace, but you could put any sauce you want with this. They sell some ready-made. If you want at home some beautiful béarnaise or hollandaise, and we happen to have a nice demi here, take 2 slices, some asparagus and some risotto, put it on a plate, and then just add your nice sauce at the end.